Welcome into our latest edition of our Cubs Recap Podcast, a presentation of our Recap YouTube channel and available audio only everywhere you get your favorite podcasts with my partner, my guy, Gordon Wittenmeyer. I'm David Kaplan. I'm in 28-degree Chicago. Gordon is at the opening day of Cubs camp in Mesa, Arizona at Sloan Park and at the Performance Center. Okay, Gordon, let's get started because Jed Hoyer, Carter Hawkins met the media, and then Craig Counsell met the media. I saw Dansby Swanson and others walking in. It's pitchers and catchers report, but there's been a lot of guys hard at work because the Dodger two-game series in Tokyo, not far away.
Yeah, that was one thing that came up was how do you prepare for that and whether your pitchers are going to be ready and all that. One of the things that was talked about today was that, as you and I have also heard in recent weeks, these guys all have begun preparing earlier than normal in their off-season routines. So they hit camp a little more advanced than usual, and that's going to wind up probably boding well for these two games in Japan. On the other hand, Jed was clear that he went through this in 2008 with the Red Sox, and he knows that kind of knows how to prepare and also what to avoid. Like, you're not going to rush any pitcher. You just will go without a guy rather than any concerns. The only thing we know for sure about Tokyo right now is that Shota Imanaga is going to pitch probably the first game,
which is super cool. It's, homecoming for him and
the
whole thing. So super, super cool. My question to you is, as you listened to, I watched Jed and Carter today, and obviously there's a billion questions from everybody. Are you going after Bregman? Is Bregman on the table? And he's like, I'm not going to talk about free agents. And he absolutely is not going to talk about free agents. And I completely get that. But I thought it was interesting when he said, oh, yeah, I see 1,000-word articles, and they're not even based in reality. None of it is true. What'd you think?
He didn't say none of it was true. He said some of it wasn't true. I think there's – but I think there's fire there where that smoke is on Bregman if it comes in at the right price. If it's a short-term deal, I'm not sitting here saying I think it's likely, but there was just too much sidestepping and non-answers that even if you didn't know anything already, that would suggest communication is still open.
Do you think that they're done adding pitching to the roster? Because Dylan Cease is probably going to get moved. I don't think Michael King is. Robert Suarez could get moved, both by San Diego. There's still other guys that are reportedly available because teams are having financial issues with their TV contracts. Do you think he's done adding starting pitching or bullpen help?
Well, put it this way. One of the questions I asked him was whether he thought that he might be adding, whether he expected to add a significant big leaguer between now and Japan. And he didn't rule that out. In fact, you can listen to his answer right here. Jed, do you think you might make any significant big league moves between now and the time you guys take off for Japan?
Unclear. I think we always look for opportunity, but right now we're gonna have a meeting this afternoon. We're gonna focus on the guys that are in camp, and that's the plan. So, I think off seasons have drifted later, whether it's waiver claims, trades, free agent signings. Like, things happen a little bit later now, but I think given that it's February 9th, I think we're focused on the guys that are here. You got enough to get it done in the division this year, if this is what it is? Well, it's going to be. It's going to be a hard-fought division. It's going to be a hard-fought league. I think that's been one of the our main focuses. I think as we thought about the offseason, going into the offseason and throughout, is that wins are going to be in a premium in the National League in particular this year. And so I think we're at in a competitive window. I think we've gotten better each year. I think we're at a place where we have a chance to be really good, and trying to really maximize our resources, within our budget to make sure that we could do that.
Okay, so interesting there where he talks about it. And again, they have payroll flexibility. He is in the final year of his deal. And when you and I sat down with him in our recap studios a few weeks ago, I thought his answer was outstanding when you said to him, "You're in the final year of your deal." And he said, "Yes. And this year should factor into whether I get an extension or not." But he said, "I'm still going to do my job to the best of my ability for the Chicago Cubs, not to save Jed Hoyer," which I respect that thought, but he's also a human being. So I'm putting your feet to the fire. Do you think they make a significant move before Tokyo?
I think they make a legitimate, established big league addition that can help. I don't think they're going to break the bank on a big one. And to your point about his contract status and the urgency to win, he admitted there's urgency to win. He and Carter were both sitting up there acknowledging the final years of their deal, their deals. And Jed did say, sort of reiterating a little bit of what he'd already told us, but it does feel a little bit different this year than it has in the past, but that he's not operating any different. I'll tell you what is an interesting timeline to look at. And I asked about this without getting any real, concrete answers on anything, and maybe I didn't expect to. But if you look at this roster and the multi-year deals that they have, first of all, we know that they haven't signed anybody to a long-term deal this offseason. Kyle Tucker, they trade for him. He's got another year on his deal. Presley's got another year on his deal. Gave Matt Boyd a 2-year deal. That lines up with the expiration of CBA. The collective bargaining agreement with the union is up after next season. We've seen a lot of teams go short-term contracts with a lot of guys. There's some rumblings around that there might be another labor war on the horizon.
Oh, and more than rumblings. People in the game. I'm not talking about media guys like us. I've talked to people working for other teams. They said 100% we're going to have a major shutdown after 26. Well,
I haven't heard 100% we're going to have a shutdown, but I've done the same as you, talking to people in the game, and it's a real concern. And there are, as there always are, there are hawks on the ownership side that want a salary cap, and that's being internally discussed now within the game at the executive level. It's always been a non-starter with the union, and I suspect we're getting. Hey, I don't know if you can hear this. We're getting some noise in the background here from fans. Shota just walked by, so that's what you're hearing there. Your opening day starter probably. Anyway, so this, yes, there's a lot of people in the game bracing for the possibility that there could be a shutdown after next season. And if you look at, and I don't think it's a coincidence or an accident that you've got Tyone's 4-year deals up this year. Hap got an extension off his original long-term deal that runs. It expires when the CBA does.
Yeah, Tyone has 2 years left. Tyone has 2 years left, I believe.
He's got this and next.
Yeah, this and next. Right.
I thought it was okay. So then we've got Tyone, Suzuki, Hap, Horner, and Boyd on multi-year deals, all of whom their contracts expire when the CBA does.
Correct.
So that leaves Shota's got 1 year after, and Dansby Swanson's the guy that's a few years after. But even Dansby Swanson, if you go back and look at it, they were in the market in that year of really high-end shortstops. They were in the market for one of those guys, and even in that case, they signed a guy on the lowest, the shortest term deal. So I think they've got this in mind. Now, asking about that, you don't get a straight answer on it. But even the big market Cubs, with the money they have and flirting with the luxury tax threshold going forward, seem to have this in mind. And I think my take on that is, you see the Dodgers, you see the Mets, you see what they're doing, even the Yankees. Even within this climate, they're making sure that they're putting teams on the field to win, and in turn, obviously, make money. When you win, you make money. I think the Cubs, even if you're going to go short term, you ought to go closer to all in than they are right now. I think you ought to push the envelope a little bit. I mean, that said, you got PCA and you got Shaw that are young guys that are going to get some. Shaw's a rookie that are going to get an opportunity to play. But my God, you're one of these teams. You shouldn't want a salary cap, for one thing, if you're one of these teams, and you shouldn't. You definitely should go all in, trying to win in a division where nobody else is spending.
That's what I was just going to say to you. That okay, if you tell me they're not going to spend like the Yankees, Dodgers, and Mets, okay, I get it. The Dodgers got an $8 billion TV deal. The Yankees are the Yankees, and the Mets have, a guy who's one of the wealthiest humans on the planet. Okay, let's leave that to the side for a second. Then if you don't have these, massive long deals on your books other than Dansby Swanson, why would you not go out and say, all right, I'll take all of Dylan Cease's money. I want him in his last year pitching for me because I'm trying to win the World Series right now.
I agree with you. Aside from who they might be asking for, that deal should already be done for that reason.
Would you
Absolutely.
give up Matt Shaw on that deal? I would
Maybe
not.
If I'm going to go sign Bregman. But
I would not give up my number one prospect who I've been waiting with bated breath. I'm talking about from their perspective to get to the big leagues. And I'm going to, if I don't win it and then Cease walks and I watch that kid be an all-star somewhere else, no, I'm not doing that.
Well, you shouldn't.
When I give up Owen Casey or
right.
A couple of other guys, absolutely I would talk about it.
I'm with you. That's what makes more sense. And and if they're trading Cease, they're going to want some pitching back too. Give them throw in a couple pitchers and make one of them one of your better prospects.
You want Owen Casey and Jordan Wicks and a prospect, all in. Let's go.
And maybe even Jordan Wicks, Owen Casey, and another good prospect. And by the way, Owen Casey was a Padre.
Right. That's correct. So
the Darvish trade.
So everybody is reporting today, pitchers and catchers wise. We saw Dansby walking in. He's picking the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. I'm up against them because I'm saying fly, Eagles, fly, baby. I think they're going to win. The rest of the crew will be in the next few days, but a lot of guys have been there already. The Baseball Prospectus PECOTA rankings are saying that the Chicago Cubs have the third best chance of any team in baseball to go to the playoffs. And not saying they're right, but their projection is they win the NL Central by 10 games. What do you think about that?
I think that's a little extreme. I mean, as soon as you said the third best to make the playoffs, that's all about the division, obviously. Yes. They're the class of the. And by the way, I was over in Reds camp yesterday, and they don't have anybody there. I talked to a couple of the people that are on there behind the scenes, and one person was just talking about how the team that really did something and it was the Cubs this year. They're very respectful of what the Cubs did this offseason, in particular with Tucker. So that move alone should put the Cubs over the top as the favorites in the division. But I think PECOTA has the Reds last. Is that right?
I think
maybe fourth with the Padres last. And they got them winning what? Maybe a game or two more than last year.
The Pirates last.
I'm sorry, the Pirates.
Yeah.
So what do they got them winning? 76, 77 games, 78 games?
I'm looking them up right now.
I think they won 77 last year. It's got them winning about the same number of games.
Yeah, the PECOTA predictions for 2025. I know that they have the Cubs at 90.6 victories. 90.6.
Yeah, they're counting on them picking up a bunch of wins in the division, obviously.
Obviously.
But anyway, and so I think that the Reds are being completely overlooked by those projection systems. And part of it is Terry Francona is the new manager over there. And
they actually do have the Reds fifth.
They do have them fifth. How many wins?
73.3 and 88.7 finishing
You got to
2
be
games
kidding.
behind the Pirates. The Cardinals in third at 78 wins. The Brewers in fourth at 80 wins. And the Cubs winning the division with 90.1.
With even average health, the Reds should be a 500 team. They won 77 last year. They got them winning 4 fewer games this year after adding Terry Francona and bringing back the best pitcher they had last year, Nick Martinez, adding Brady Singer to the pitching staff, and Gavin Lux over from the Dodgers, Jose Trevino, guys that played in the World Series last year. None of these sound like big moves in and of themselves, but the Reds have built up a much stronger floor than they had last year. Going in last year, they were relying on a whole bunch of these guys that had broken into the big leagues the previous summer, and Matt McClain got hurt right out of the gate, didn't play all year. He's back. He'll at least make them a better defensive team just by showing up if he's healthy at all. TJ Friedel missed a bunch of time. He's the center fielder, better than average glove out there. He'll make them better if he's reasonably healthy. I'm not saying that the Reds should be the favorite. I think the Cubs should be the favorite, but they're really overlooking the Reds. If I'm the Cubs, that's the team I'm scared of, with my other eye on the Brewers, because it doesn't seem to matter year over year who they lose. They seem to find a way to backfill with young guys and stay right in that 90-win range. I don't know how they do it.
They also had the Cubs scoring the 6th most runs in baseball.
Well, as Counsell said, there aren't a lot of bats that in the big leagues like Kyle Tucker. And we talked about that when they made that deal. He not only has power, he can hit for average, he can get on base, he's got the OPS. He makes contact, puts the ball in play. And so it's not Nick Madrigal contact. It's a real deal.
Playoff percentage for the Chicago Cubs, 85.1.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's about right. Maybe that's a little high just because they're completely discounting the rest of the division. And by the way, the Cardinals, the Cardinals might be a bottom 2 team in this division. They've got a lot of dissension going on in there, with some of it roster dissension, but Arenado's not happy. He's been on a trade block all year. If he goes to camp with those guys, opens the season with them, how's that going to play? Goldschmidt is gone. They've 2 of their big acquisitions in the previous offseason to their starting rotation are gone. They cut payroll, and they weren't that great last year. I don't see the Cardinals doing anything, and they're really not putting any eggs in any basket for 2025, and probably because the price of eggs is so high these days.
Yeah, no question about it. So I'm looking here. The Cubs division chance to win the NL Central, 77.5. They give the Reds a 1.5% chance at the bottom end of the division. That is the second best behind the Dodgers, who are 96.3 to win the West. Second best of any team in any division in all of baseball.
Think about what you just said. The Dodgers are 96% favorites before they've even opened spring training to win their division, a division that includes a pretty damn good Padres team, a pretty damn good Diamondbacks team. I mean, and the Giants got a lot better. I mean, that tells you what the Dodgers have done. And that's another thing, right? The other day, Rob Manfred was asked if the Dodgers were ruining baseball, if they were bad for baseball because of all the talent and money they're spending, stockpiling, and just basically throwing a financial tidal wave over everybody else. And you could say the Mets are doing that too, and the Yankees. And he said no. Asked Jed about that today, just about are they bad for baseball? Is all spending bad for baseball? And is it bad for the Cubs? And he did a very artful dodge of that question. Not for him to say whether something like that's bad for baseball, but it does go back to talking about what we talked about earlier with the CBA coming up and people bracing for a labor battle. That's coming. That said, Cap, and what those Pacoda projections reflect is what the rosters look like right now. So even if they don't add somebody, they are well positioned. And so, Jed talked about that, and Counsell talked about that too, about just, yes, they're always trying to add, and would they like to get better both from the inside and the outside? Absolutely. But he also talked about how they're positioned now and some of the things he likes about that the roster as it is situated right now. And here's that clip. Here's Counsell talking about that.
That part is accurate. Like, you don't have to go through the get to know, but I'm not sure how much that maybe bled into the season. I would, if I would self-assess, there were maybe a couple of moments in April. We won a lot of games in April, but there were still a couple of moments maybe I wish I had back, and just knowing personnel, like the way you feel like you know personnel now better. That would be one thing for sure. Some of the things you're happy about. I'm happy how we took a hit, especially in the bullpen. I feel like we took a hit early in the season and we got it on track. And you're always kind of trying to you're going to take hits during the season as a team in this long journey. And it's really just minimizing the length of it is what you have to do. We hit an offensive slump last year. We didn't minimize it. We're going to have an offensive slump this year. We ran out of some bullpen guys because of a quick hit of injuries that just decimated us. Fixed it. Probably just took too long, and it cost us games, right? So just trying to address your problems, address those downturns a little bit quicker. I think that can win you games.
What goes unnoticed?
Okay, so Craig came out at the end of last year, final week of the season, and he said, we got to start thinking about building 90-win teams around here and then go from there. That basically speaks to that they listened to him this winter, right?
I think probably. It's funny because he got asked about that, and he basically got asked, well, is that where you are now? And he wouldn't say that. He says, well, the goal is, you're trying to get better. I think we're better. Yes. And he said, so it sounded like he was walking back that statement, but then he said, no, I stand by that statement. I said that, but yeah, the goal is we're trying to get better and get to the playoffs. So, I do think that he's probably hoping for a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
That, to your point, I also think that they did listen to him. And I don't know that ownership listened to him, but I think Jed did.
By the way, this guy right there, Stanley, is getting ready for Cubs little scarf that we have that we put around the necks of our three dogs. Yeah, he was barking at his today, and I'm like, wow, pitchers and catchers report. How would you know that? So we're all ready to rock and roll, man. All right, you have a great time out there. Enjoy the warm weather. Who's your Super Bowl pick?
Chiefs. I mean, Pat Mahomes? Seriously?
Yeah.
Fly, Eagles, fly, baby.
Chiefs, man.
My son's wearing a Patrick
Good luck
Mahomes
with that, Cap.
You got it. All right, have a great trip. I'll talk to you later in the week. And, of course, anything breaks, we'll have an emergency podcast with me and with Gordon. Appreciate you.
The Bregman podcast awaits.
That's it. Makes Dylan Cease, too. Just look back at that logo and just know it's going to be flying proudly in the postseason this year. 92 wins, baby. Here we come.
90.
92.
92.
You're more optimistic than Dakota.
I am. 92 and 70. 92 and 70.
Which means,
Gordon, have a great.
Sure, you saying it. No chance it happens.
Lock it in.
Knocked it out of existence.
That's it. All right, have a great day. All right, that is a wrap for another edition of our Cubs Recap Podcast, a presentation of our Recap YouTube channel and available audio only everywhere you get your favorite podcast. In Mesa, that's Gordon Wittenmeyer. In Chicago, I'm David Kaplan. Have a great rest of your day. Baseball's back, baby. Take that.